Okay, so we see that with Stoicism, there's an emphasis on ethics and living and practical living, philosophy as what some have called a way of life, rather than metaphysical speculation. It's not that there isn't deep metaphysical thinking in Stoicism, but the emphasis is on philosophy as a way of life. And Stoicism is actually a predecessor, and I would argue the foundation of what we call now cognitive therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy. Why is that? Well, Stoicism, as we saw, thinks there are things in our control and out of our control, and oftentimes we get upset by mixing the two. But how exactly does that work? Well, the basic idea is that our emotions are directed by our thoughts, or rather, our thoughts are prior to our emotions. So our emotional or affective life is the result of our thinking, okay? So it's not that we have the emotion first and then the thinking, although that sometimes happens, but we can actually manipulate our emotions by changing our thoughts, okay? And how do we change our thoughts? Well, our thoughts are determined by our judgments, or what we might call our interpretations. So when things happen to us in life, when we receive an impression or a sensation or an event, we immediately for the Stoics, judge them, or rather interpret them. We're even unconsciously, we're unconsciously assigning meaning and value to these things, okay? So our judgments and our interpretations, our value assigning, is what creates our thoughts or controls our thoughts, and in turn our emotions. So how we feel follows our thoughts and emotions. So for the Stoic, we need to train our mind not to irrationally or cognitively distort, as the cognitive therapists call, the impressions we receive in life. In other words, we have to look at everything. Anytime we're upset, here's an example. Anytime we're upset, we should look at the situation rationally. Okay, do I have control of this? Okay, what am I anxious about? I'm anxious about being well received. Well, why should I be anxious about that? I'm assigning value to things or meaning to things that I really have no control over. So here's maybe the famous quote of Stoics that many cognitive therapists quotes. It goes, "It's not events that disturb us, it's their judgments. It is their judgments concerning them. It's not events that disturb people, it's our judgments concerning them." For example, death is nothing frightening, otherwise it would have frightened Socrates. But the judgment that death is frightening, now that is something to be afraid of. So when we are frustrated, angry, or unhappy, never hold anyone except ourselves, that is, our judgments, accountable. An ignorant person is inclined to blame others for his own misfortune. To blame oneself is proof of progress, but the wise man has never to blame another or himself. Okay, so the recognition that even sometimes our snap judgments are out of our control, and is itself a way of taking control of something. Okay, I guess I'll stop there. This is, by the way, in the book, the Enchiridion, or the Fragments. What I just quoted from was chapter 5, very small section. I'm going to link this on the webpage.